Hi, I'm going to show you how to make a prop in 3ds Max and import it into Dragon Age, hopefully in less than 10 minutes. So here we go. First thing you need to do is download and install Eshme's script into your 3ds Max 2010 scripts folder. So you should have a folder called DAO Tools and Startup. Second thing you need to do is set that up in the in your menu. You can do that in Customize User Interface, and in the Menus tab change this to DAO Tools and simply create a new menu and add the items here. Final thing is customize unit setup so that you're using both for your system units and display units centimeters. You can use something else, but that seems to work for me. Okay, you're now ready to get started. So first thing I do is make something roughly the size and shape of a human, just to give me an idea of scale. So that's kind of a human size. I was using there the dimensions, length, width, height to see in centimeters, size of a human. Okay, so I'm going to make a sort of pedestal thing, I guess, something like that. It's not going to be a great work of art, but there we go. I like to work with editable polys, and it's always nice to position your main object in the center of your scene, just better for placing it. And I'll just make some pretty shapes out of it. So in terms of the how to model and all of the rest of that, I'm not going to be doing that, but you can check out some YouTube videos. It's usually a good idea. Or just have a practice and play around. My normals are the wrong way, but that's not a big deal. So I just need to. If you find yourself in this situation, just select your faces and polygons, flip, and that should fix it for you. Okay. I think I'll add a ball to the top or something. Not that big, should be fine. Oh, that's not a ball. There we go. I don't know, maybe it's a globe, something like that. And again, place it in the middle is always nice. And then bring it up to where you want it. So there's my little prop. Okay, materials wise, you should be using this button here when you're making a new material to change it from a standard to being a Dragon Age material. This is something Eshme set up for your convenience. Before you start selecting any of those, it's always a good idea to scroll down and choose the material type you want to use. Whoopsie daisy. Because we're making an interior prop model that we want to be light mapped, we don't want prop default, we want static. Static models can be light mapped, prop models cannot. Static models should be used for props, and prop models should be used for placeables, confusingly enough. So we'll choose static. We don't have any transparency. If we did, we'd need to use this one. I'm not going to use a height map, so I'm not going to use this one, but those two are also good options. So just be aware of those being there. Okay, with that done, you can see that the options here are diffuse, normal, and specular. I'll be adding one of each to these from my kind of catalogue, if you like. I'll be using this grey stone here, for which I have a diffuse, normal, and specular. Setting all of this up correctly allows Eshme's script to make you the material file, so you don't have to worry about that. So it's worth doing this just to save yourself time further down the road. Drag it onto the thing you want. Ensure that you're using the show standard map in viewport, and you can see it in your viewport. Okay, as you will have noticed, I have some bad unwrapping on there. That's because I haven't done that bit yet, but I'll come to that. If you want two materials, you can do that. That's fine. Let's say we're going to make this one. I don't know. Let's see what we've got. There we go. So we've got a kind of marbly thing on top of a stony kind of thing. Lovely. Right. You need a UV unwrap for everything in your scene, not just the things that you need to modify. So although I'm not changing this ball, I will still apply a UV unwrap. So there we go. Now, because we're using light mapping, we need 2 UV unwraps, and the top which needs to be on map channel 2, and you need to ensure there's absolutely no overlaps, which I think there probably will be here. Let's try and unfold. It'll make a horrible mess, but yeah, so that's not pretty, but there it is. You need to make sure that you've got no overlaps, and that's one way of doing it. And then for my other one, I need to actually unwrap that properly because that's absolutely totally wrong. For this, I would think that using the flatten mapping ought to do a pretty good job. So that's good. Now, because my texture is tileable, I'm going to extend it beyond this just so I get a better pixel density. That's looking a bit nicer. Okay, that's good. In fact, I might also do that with my sphere in a moment. So that's good for the first one, and for the second one, I'll unwrap again. And for this one, it's important though that you don't go beyond the edges. The 2 golden rules of doing the light map unwrap are: do not overlap and do not go beyond the square. Okay, so we got something about what we're aiming to get it to look like. We've unwrapped it properly. We want to add now collision, which basically stops your character from walking into it and allows the walk path thing to get it right. It also affects how the camera behaves around it, so that the camera won't get stuck behind it. If the camera is in the game in this kind of position, it'll kind of end up doing like this and kind of going through it, just so that you don't your view isn't obstructed. So it's important to set up your collision properly. With that set up, we've got about all the things we need in the scene, but we now need to make it sort of DAO export friendly. So create yourself in helpers under create tab, so Dragon Age model root, and create something that's a bit big. There we go, so we can see what we're doing. This model root is where you need to attach all of your objects to. So select all the objects in the scene that you want to export. So I'm going to select everything except for my human and not the model root itself, and I'm going to use select and link to link them all. That's the this button here, select and link. Once you've done that, you should be able to open up DAO Tools Model Manager, bring that up, and sometimes you need to select the object itself, but you should have your root object with the objects you've selected attached to it. Now, my box, I don't want to make that a mesh, but my other 2 objects I want to be a mesh, so that they appear in the game. So select under Edit Parameters, select Mesh and click on Add. Then under the Modify tab, pick each of them, and I'll just make this a little bigger so I can see what I'm doing. Used to working in a slightly higher resolution than this. Okay, under Editable Poly, you should have some new parameters. Make sure that you tick if you're using light mapping. These 4 here. You can probably figure it out, to be honest. And then under this is the object I had set up for my collision, so I'm going to add the collision parameters to that. And you'll see now you have parameters for that. I want that to be static, non-walkable, and static under the collision mask. Now, if you're making yourself a placeable that you want to be able to click on, you need to use placeable if it's interactive. If you want it to be a static prop, use static. So if you're wondering why you can't click on something, if you want it to be interactive, yeah, that's probably why. Okay, with that all set up, that's pretty much all there is to it. So DAO Tools, Model Export, type in a useful name, so I'm going to call it prop furniture pedestal, something like that. Ensure that you have the Create MAO Material Files box ticked so that you'll have your material files made for you, and click Export. Ensure that you're exporting to an override folder, and you should be able to just test it in the game.